What's up, everybody, and welcome back to my channel. It's time for a recap of what went down on last week's episode of Teen Mom OG. This season of the show is like that friend that just doesn't know when to leave your house at the end of a party. It just keeps dragging on. You're like, okay, I'm bored. Why are you still here? So anyway, starting off with Dimitri. So he survived 3 months living with Amber, but his visa's up, so it's time for him to return to Belgium. And according to Amber, their plan was for him to return for only 2 weeks and then come back for another 3 months, which has me wondering what his relationship is like with his kids. Remember, the week prior, he talked about how he might be open to living in America, but doesn't know how that would impact like his children and stuff. So you do have to wonder like how involved he is with them, if he is more than happy to leave them 6 months out of the year, maybe more, without really having any kind of concrete plans in place. But you and I are not the only people curious about Dimitri's visa situation. Amber's guardians, Gary and Christina, sit down in their kitchen to talk about how it's even possible for him to keep returning in the United States. Amber makes it seem like he can just keep coming in and out of the country at his, whim, but Gary and Christina are a lot more pragmatic about the situation. They think that it might come down to Amber having to marry Dimitri in order to keep him in the United States because the way he's doing it right now without a proper visa in place is just not going to cut it. And it just makes me laugh because they've known each other for 3 months, and here these people are already talking about how she might marry this, literal stranger just to keep him in the United States for whatever reason. Mind you, this is the same chick who literally just got put on probation for yet another domestic violence case and has to go to parenting classes and anger management classes. And this is what she is so freaking concerned with. It's a joke. It truly is. I have to laugh. And speaking of that, Christina actually adds that getting through probation should be Amber's top priority at this moment. And Gary, for the first time, speaks out against Amber when he says, yeah, it should be, but she's not going to listen to anyone about that. Meanwhile, in Oklahoma, Mackenzie McKee is feeling a lot better since her mother's passing and has started being able to take her kids to school on time. And because she's doing a lot better, she's like, you know what, let me go check in on my dad and see how he's doing. So she and her sister go over to his house to talk about how they're all managing their grief and how they plan to celebrate Angie's life during her birthday, which is coming up pretty soon. And then over in LA, Cory and Taylor tell Cheyenne that they're moving in together, and it suddenly hits Cheyenne that Taylor is going to be a full-blown step-parent to Ryder versus that girlfriend who just comes to Cory's house sometimes when Ryder is over there. And she actually cries about it, which I can really empathize with her on. Like, I don't even have kids, and like that would be really heartbreaking for me to kind of go through if the situation did play out that way, but she seems to be handling it really well. Now in Tennessee, Bentley got accepted into the private school that he wanted to go to, and Maci's restraining order against Ryan is about to expire. Ryan was so damn high in the scene that he shot at his parents' house. Like, he could not keep his eyes open. He seemed to be nodding out. Like, it was a mess. He was slurring his words, and it reminded me of the way he was on his way to that sidewalk wedding. I just really feel bad for Ryan, and unfortunately I do not see the next 3 to 5 years going very well for him because everyone around him seems to be more interested in saving face and enabling him than actually pushing him to get the proper help that he needs. Though, at 30-something years old, it really is ultimately up to him to change his life. And it's just, you know what? Let's just stop there. It's dark. I don't see the next 3 to 5 years going well for him if he continues along this path. And 3 to 5 years may even be like a long, generous estimate. In Michigan, Catelynn and Tyler want to see a gender selection specialist so that they could have a boy next time. And Tyler says that he'd lose his SHIT if he had another girl, so he doesn't want to take the chance with a natural birth. And he said that in response to Catelynn. Catelynn, as usual, is putting herself on the back burner. She's like, what if we just do it naturally? And like, if it's a boy, great, we stop there. If it's a girl, that's great too, and we stop there. And Tyler's like, no, I would lose my SHIT. We're gonna go see a gender selection specialist. And I just felt like, dude, it's so difficult to go through IVF. Like, the women who do that are so freaking dedicated to having a child because it's so difficult. So maybe check in with your wife to see if she's open to having all these needles like jammed into her on a consistent basis. The hormones that come with it, is it gonna mess with her current mental state because she's been doing so well this year, before you push for something that may not be in her best interest. We're quickly transported back to LA, where Cheyenne and Cory and their family all go down to Washington, D.C. for Rare Disease Day to raise awareness about Ryder's disease. They've been really campaigning since they got on this show. They're really using the platform wonderfully, and she looked gorgeous at the event. Ryder playing with the other little girls was so sweet as well. And then we're quickly transported back to Michigan, where Catelynn and Tyler are meeting with the gender specialist doctor, and yeah, he explains to them that there are a lot of needles involved in conceiving via IVF. The science behind it truly was incredible to listen to. I have to say, it's amazing what science can do. And then Catelynn brings up her anxieties about the hormone injections messing with her mental state as someone who suffers from depression and panic disorder. And then the doctor kind of glosses over that, which I'm like, did he really gloss over how detrimental this could be to Catelynn's mental health, or was it just cut out from the show? You know, editing does play a role in a lot of these things, and that disappointed me. Down in Oklahoma, Mackenzie and her sister decide that they'll either do a 5K run or a half marathon to celebrate their mother's life, because that was something that she loved to do throughout her life, and that was also how she discovered that she was sick, because she was not able to run or train for her runs as well as she usually was. And then she went to the doctor to figure out what was going on with her body, and that's when she discovered that she had cancer. In her DC hotel room, Cheyenne and Cory talk about how Cheyenne is very happy that Ryder's going to be having another sibling. Cory tried to bring it up as if it's something that she would be jealous of. He was like, I don't want you to feel like I'm rubbing my, you know, whatever in your face. She's like, I'm happy that her daughter's having, you know, a sibling. That's something that I do want for her. So, you know, like, let's just focus on that. But speaking of you guys getting a new sibling for Ryder, I want to make sure that you are aware that you should be putting in an extra effort to make Ryder feel important in your world, because now she's got to share it with, you know, another baby. So why don't we, you know, talk about that instead of you trying to make it look like I'm jealous of you and your situation, because that's not what I want. By the way, I forgot to ask last week when Dimitri said that he was like a mailman, but how is he able to get 3 months off of his job at a time? And he was planning to do this twice that year, so 6 months off in total. Like, it's not like he works remotely as a post carrier. Like, you can't do that remotely. So what is, like, is that something that he used to do and then he quit to live with Amber? I'm very curious. So Amber's producer asks her if she's comfortable being alone, and she lies and claims that she is, and that she's always been comfortable being alone, but that freedom has always been taken away from her, as if she was not the one trolling social media for boyfriends for the past like 6 years. That's how she meets everybody. Remember, Matt was creeping in her Twitter DMs, and then she decided to like fly him on out and be his sugar mama for a couple of years. Then Andrew, she met him at the marriage boot camp house, and then when she got back home, she saw he was verified on Instagram. That's what she went to Gary with. He's verified on Instagram. I think we should date, because they were going back and forth into DMs. And now, of course, we've got Dimitri. So her acting like, oh, I've always been independent, but men come along and steal that from me, is such a joke. I do like to give credit where it's due, though. So I will say that Amber did acknowledge that she does have a codependency problem, and she claimed that she was working on fixing it. But you know what? That is lip service. You never truly know when it comes to her. After being certain that Dimitri could easily re-enter the United States, we get a black screen telling us that he was actually turned away on his attempt to re-enter after leaving for Belgium. Back at Ryan's place, he and Mackenzie talk about how he doesn't really plan to speak to Maci personally when the restraining order expires anyway. And then we flip back over to Maci and Taylor's house, and I've got to ask, because it starts bothering me at this point, but why, like, did it look like all of Maci's scenes were shot on a webcam or something like that? It's like producers were not at her house this entire episode. It was very like bad visual quality going on there. But the two of them talk about how they don't want to renew their restraining order against Ryan, but that they worry he's not sober. Maci doesn't want to talk to Ryan about it though, because she says that it's not good for her mental health. So I do wonder how it is that they're going to monitor the way that he is around Bentley if they're not directly communicating with him to gauge his level of sobriety, because his parents probably would cover for him versus like tell her the actual truth. And On top of that, it reminds me of the way that she treated Andrew earlier. Like, Andrew was a victim of domestic violence, and Maci was like, you're a narcissist, like, you know, that's such BS, the baby should be around his mom, like all of this stuff. She talked a big game, and here she is wanting sympathy for her situation, which, you know, is another case of a parent being unfit to be there for her child. But why does she not extend that same grace for Andrew and his situation, right? Like, it's very interesting to see the way that she treats her own situation with restraining order and everything versus the way she treats Andrew, who wanted the same thing to protect his own child. In Oklahoma, Mackenzie and her siblings decide to run for 51 minutes in honor of their mother's 51st birthday. I thought it was incredibly sweet and cute and thoughtful of them, and like, it takes a lot of energy and endurance to run for 51 minutes, so kudos to them on that. And I thought it was really adorable the way that she filmed her day and her feelings after doing that run for her mom, as if it was a vlog dedicated to her mom. She's like, hey mom, today for your birthday we ran for 51 minutes, and she's just tugging at my heartstrings with every episode. I'm truly loving Mackenzie this season. Meanwhile, in Michigan, Catelynn and Tyler talking about how they don't want any more kids after she hits 30 years old was a little bit eye-roll inducing for me, because I always kind of suspected that the teen mom parents kind of had that like weird myth going on in their head where it's like, you know, have kids in any situation, whether or not you're financially, emotionally, like whatever, stable for them, just as long as you're under 30, because once you're over 30, your eggs or your sperm or stuff is all bad and it's unhealthy to do so. It's a geriatric pregnancy kind of train. And so I feel like they kind of confirmed for me, maybe, that they were kind of like in that line of thinking, because what other reason is there for you to want to have kids, whether or not you're ready for them, just so long as you're under 30 years old. While they're sitting around at home, Catelynn says there's no way she's paying $20,000 for a kid, but let's run up the numbers on all the livestock this girl has bought over the years, shall we? She paid like $3,000 for a micro pig that she kept for all of like 12 hours before returning it after being overwhelmed. She's got like a $10,000 horse that she rarely sees, and then she bought a pony for I don't know how much, but it's a couple $1,000s as well. So she's already spent like $20,000 on animals she doesn't even really have much to do with. And then let's talk about how Tyler bought his sister a boob job for who knows how many thousands of dollars that is, and then she's staying in his house for free, which probably costs at least like $15,000 a year. Who knows how many cars and how much money they've given to other family members. So this was a little bit laughable to me, to say the least. But if Kate does not want kids through IVF for whatever other reason, I think it's probably a hormonal issue for her, which is a smart thing to stay away from considering her history. I'm definitely not going to knock her about that. And by the way, I don't knock them for this gender selection situation either. The only issue to me about them going down this route potentially is how it would impact Kate's mental health, because she's got a very dark history of pregnancies taking a toll on her mental health, and going through IVF would be that on crack for her. So I do worry for her in that respect. Guys, I was not expecting to see coronavirus mentioned at all this season, because we're currently going through it, but Taylor gives birth and they mentioned how coronavirus impacted the delivery, the prenatal appointments, everything. And then we see Cheyenne drop off some gifts and sweets that she and Ryder put together for Taylor. And I thought that it was very, very sweet of her. And then when she's alone with one of her friends or sisters or whatever, she opens up about how sad it is that it's not her building her own little family with Ryder, but that it's, you know, the other side of Ryder's family that's growing, and she feels a little bit jealous about that. And, you know, these are the things that happen when you cheat on your boyfriend and have a one-night stand unprotected with somebody else. Like, you're not gonna, you know, build a home out of that kind of a situation, unfortunately, and that's why it's so important to be sexually careful. You know, I think that she should count her blessings, because in this case, she's very much lucky that the person that she had this one-night stand with wanted to be an involved father, because in most cases they don't. And then on top of that, she's also lucky that he still even gives her the time of day after she hid the fact that he had a child from him for so many months and was trying to pass him off as some other man's kid, you know? So I get where she's coming from, but she does also need to count her blessings because it's her own trifling ass behavior that put her in this situation. Anyway, you guys, that does it. A recap of what went down on last week's episode of Teen Mom OG. But as usual, I'm more excited to hear what you have to say. So please make sure to leave all of your thoughts and opinions in the comment section down below and we'll chat. That's all for now. Thank you so much for watching and I'll see you next time.